Welcome to the deep dive. So let's talk about something I think a lot of English learners run into.
Okay.
You're having a chat, it's going fine, maybe, and then bam, silence.
Oh, yeah. The dreaded awkward pause.
Exactly, that feeling where you're just mentally scrambling,
Yeah.
trying to think of anything to say next.
It's super common. You can know all the grammar, heaps of vocab, but keeping that conversation actually going, that's a whole different skill.
Right. It feels like a real stumbling block sometimes.
Yeah.
So today, we're going to dive into that. We're looking at some, well, practical hacks, really. Stuff you can actually use to keep those English conversations flowing, make them less painful.
Less stilted, yeah. More natural.
Our source here is Teacher Sam's tips for English learners on how to keep a conversation going in English.
Ah, Teacher Sam. Good stuff.
Yeah. Think of this as like a shortcut to feeling a bit more confident, a bit less tongue-tied when you're chatting.
Sounds good. So where do we start? How do we build that momentum?
Well, the source points to how we actually kick things off, the questions we ask right at the start.
Okay, yeah. Makes sense. The opening move.
It talks about open-ended questions. You know, the ones that need more than just a one-word answer.
Right. Not just yes, no. Because those can just kill the conversation instantly.
Totally. Like, the classic example is, did you have a good weekend?
Mm-hmm. Which usually gets you.
Yeah.
Huh.
Or no. And then, more silence.
Exactly. So instead of that, the source suggests something like, what did you do over the weekend?
Ah, okay. Because that invites a story, or at least some details.
Precisely. It encourages them to elaborate, share a bit more. Psychologically, it kind of signals you're genuinely interested too, not just making polite noises.
That's a good point. It feels more curious.
And the tips give other examples too, right?
Like, what do you enjoy doing in your free time?
Hmm.
Or, how did you get into your current profession?
See, those things open doors. They invite the other person to share something personal, something with a bit more substance.
And then, crucially, that gives you more to work with for follow-up questions.
Exactly. It lays the groundwork. You get a richer answer, more potential paths to explore.
Okay, so starting strong with open questions, that naturally leads into the next idea, which is, well, actually listening to the answer.
Active listening. Yeah. It's fundamental.
And it's more than just, like, not talking while they talk.
Oh, absolutely. The source defines it as really concentrating, understanding what they mean, and importantly, responding thoughtfully.
It shows respect, obviously.
Definitely. That's one big benefit. But the other is it gives you your cues. You pick up on things you can ask about next.
Right. So it's a win-win. They feel heard. You get material.
Exactly. And there are practical ways to show you're doing it. The tips mention things like eye contact.
Mm-hmm. Shows you're present.
Nodding, using those little affirmations.
Like, I see, or, that's interesting.
Yeah. Those little signals that you're tracking with them. And also summarizing what they said sometimes.
Oh, like, so if I understood correctly, you mean?
Exactly. It confirms you got it right or gives them a chance to clarify. It just makes the whole exchange feel more connected.
Those little things really add up to making someone feel comfortable, like you actually care what they're saying.
They really do.
Okay, so ask open questions, listen actively. What's another way to keep the energy up?
Well, the source talks about sharing personal stories.
Ah, okay. Bringing yourself into it a bit more.
Yeah. When you relate their topic to one of your own experiences, it makes the conversation more engaging, relatable.
Less like an interview, more like a real chat.
Right. And it often encourages them to share more, too. It's that reciprocity thing. You open up a bit, they feel more comfortable opening up.
So if someone mentions they like hiking.
You could share a quick story about a hike you enjoyed. The example given is about hiking in the Rockies.
Right. Oh, yeah, I went hiking in the Rockies last summer. It was amazing. Something like that.
Exactly. It's specific, it's relevant, it creates a connection, and it invites them to ask you questions now. Oh, where did you go? Or have you been there?
Okay, that makes sense. It adds a layer.
Yeah.
So we've asked a good question, listened, maybe shared a story.
Mm-hmm.
They've responded. What now? How do we build on their response?
This is where follow-up questions are gold.
Right. Instead of just jumping to a totally new topic.
Yeah, exactly. Follow-up show you were really listening to the details and you're interested in hearing more about that specific thing.
It proves you're invested.
Totally. And the tips give examples like, if someone says they play guitar.
You could ask, oh, cool, how long have you been playing?
Perfect. Or if they mentioned something was difficult, you could ask.
Wow, that sounds tough. How did you manage that? Or how did you overcome it?
Yes. See how those questions directly link back? They dig a little deeper into what was just said. Keeps the thread going.
Keeps the momentum.
Yeah.
Okay. But eventually a topic will run its course.
Yeah.
How do we switch gears without it being, clunky?
Ah, the smooth transition. It's an art.
Definitely feels like one sometimes.
The source suggests using bridging phrases, little connectors. Things like, speaking of whatever the topic was, that reminds me, or, talking about X makes me wonder about Y.
Or even, that reminds me I wanted to ask you about.
Exactly. These phrases kind of weave the old topic into the new one. It feels less abrupt, more organic.
Creates a sense of flow, rather than just hopping between random points.
Precisely. Makes it feel like one continuous conversation, not a list of disconnected items.
Okay, good questions. Active listening, sharing stories, follow-ups, smooth transitions. What else is in the toolkit?
Nonverbal cues. We can't forget body language.
Right, communication isn't just words.
Not at all. The source highlights how important it is to pay attention to things like posture, facial expressions, both yours and theirs.
So reading the room, basically.
Yeah. Are they leaning in, making eye contact? Or are they, looking away, arms crossed?
Big difference. One says, I'm engaged. The other says, rescue me.
Exactly. So maintaining an open posture yourself helps you seem approachable, and watching them helps you gauge their interest. Maybe you need to change the topic or ask them a question if they seem disengaged.
It's about being sensitive to the whole interaction, adjusting as you go.
It shows good conversational awareness.
Okay. Now, something related to that sensitivity is empathy. How does that play into just keeping a chat going?
Empathy is huge. It's about understanding and sharing the feelings of the other person, right?
Yeah. Seeing it from their perspective.
When you show empathy, you create a safer space. People feel more comfortable opening up if they think you actually get where they're coming from.
So if someone's talking about a frustrating experience,
You might say something like, wow, that must have been really frustrating, or I can see why you'd feel that way.
it validates their feelings.
Exactly. It shows you're connecting emotionally, not just processing information. And the tips mention simple phrases like, that sounds tough, or even, I'm here if you need to talk.
Powerful stuff. Even if it sounds simple, it deepens the connection.
And encourages them to keep sharing because they feel understood.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about what we should do, but conversation is two-way. How do we avoid just, dominating?
Oh, that's crucial. Nobody likes a monologue.
Right.
The source really stresses the importance of balance. It has to be an exchange.
So how do we make sure it is?
Well, simple things like actively asking for their input.
What do you think about that?
Yes, or I'm curious to hear your perspective on this, or what's your take?
It explicitly invites them back in.
Right. It signals that you value their contribution, that it's not just the you show. Makes them feel like a partner in the conversation.
Partners, not audience.
Ah,
Got it. Okay, what about humor? Can that help?
it definitely can. Laughter is great for building rapport, lightening the mood.
There's always a but with humor, isn't there?
Well, yeah. The tips wisely caution about being mindful. Cultural differences are a big one. What's funny in one culture might not land well in another.
Or could even be offensive.
Right. And sensitive topics are generally best avoided for jokes. The advice is more about lighthearted stuff.
Like sharing a funny little story about yourself.
Yeah, or a bit of self-deprecating humor can work well. Shows you don't take yourself too seriously.
Makes you seem more human, relatable.
Exactly. But the key is read the room. Gauge the situation and the other person. When in doubt, maybe sip the joke.
Err on the side of caution. Good advice. Okay, one last point from the source, which I think is really smart. Reflecting afterwards.
Yes. This is so important for improvement. Conversation skills aren't static. You get better by thinking about it.
Like a debrief with yourself.
Kind of, yeah. After a chat, especially one where you felt maybe it didn't go perfectly, take a moment. Ask yourself those questions the source suggests.
Did I listen actively? Was I empathetic?
Did I ask good follow-up questions? Did I talk too much? What could I try differently next time?
It turns every conversation into a mini lesson.
Exactly. It fosters that self-awareness you need to keep growing.
So wrapping this all up, it sounds like keeping a conversation going in English isn't some magic trick.
Not at all.
It's a set of actual skills. Things like asking open questions, listening well, sharing appropriately, using follow-ups, transitioning smoothly.
Being aware of body language, showing empathy, not hogging the mic, using humor carefully.
And reflecting. It all adds up.
It really does. And it takes practice, patience, and just being willing to, try these things out.
Every conversation, whether it's with a colleague, friend, or even a stranger at the bus stop.
It's a chance to practice. A
Yeah,
step towards feeling more confident, more fluent. Don't be afraid to experiment a little.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And maybe just focus on one thing at a time. Which brings us to a final thought for you listening.
Okay.
Think about all these strategies we just talked about. Which one feels like the biggest hurdle for you personally? Is it asking open questions? Is it active listening? Sharing stories?
Maybe it's those transitions.
Could be anything.
Yeah.
Identify that one technique you find most challenging, and then make a conscious decision. In your very next English conversation, focus specifically on practicing that. See what happens.
Great challenge. Little steps lead to big progress.
Exactly. Give it some thought. Until our next deep dive.